When most cinephiles talk about the 1970s, The Godfather inevitably dominates the conversation. Francis Ford Coppola's magnum opus wasn't just a great gangster movie. It redefined American cinema, elevated the gangster genre into operatic storytelling, and reshaped the cultural perception of the mafia. Yet, in the very same year that The Godfather took Hollywood by storm, another mob film quietly entered theaters, Terrence Young's The Valachi Papers, starring Charles Bronson. And while it never reached the mythic status of Coppola's film, its gritty realism and historical foundation deserve far more recognition than it's received over the past 5 decades. A gangster film rooted in truth, not legend. While The Godfather is celebrated for its mythic, almost Shakespearean qualities, it remains a work of fiction. The Valachi Papers, however, dives into the very real underworld of the American mafia through the eyes of Joseph Valachi, the first mobster to publicly expose the secrets of La Cosa Nostra. Played with steel-jawed intensity by Charles Bronson, Valachi's story isn't just compelling because of its criminal intrigue, but because it was real. Based on the best-selling nonfiction book by Peter Moss, the film follows Valachi's rise through the mafia ranks and his eventual betrayal of the organization. Unlike the romanticized tone of The Godfather, The Valachi Papers presents organized crime as it truly was: brutal, chaotic, and ultimately tragic. In doing so, it offered a refreshing and grounded alternative to the stylized grandeur of Coppola's vision. Terrence Young's unique direction bridges two cinematic worlds. Terrence Young, best known for directing the early James Bond films Dr. No and From Russia with Love, brought a unique sensibility to The Valachi Papers. With his background in both European and classical Hollywood cinema, Young blended old-school storytelling with the grittier aesthetic of New Hollywood. The result is a film that straddles eras, part pulpy mob thriller, part documentary-like expose. Visually, the film leans into the grimy, unglamorous world its characters inhabit. It doesn't glorify the violence, nor does it offer redemption. The violence is sudden, dirty, and frequent, just as it was in real life. Yet, even with its documentary roots, The Valachi Papers never feels dry or academic. Thanks to Bronson's brooding presence, the film pulses with tension and quiet desperation. Charles Bronson's underrated performance. Though better known for action fare like Death Wish, Charles Bronson's turn as Joe Valachi is one of the most layered performances of his career. Here, Bronson trades his usual stoicism for something more vulnerable. Valachi is a man constantly looking over his shoulder, caught between survival and guilt, loyalty and self-preservation. Particularly powerful are his scenes with Jill Ireland, Bronson's real-life wife, who plays Valachi's spouse in the film. These moments inject much-needed emotional depth into a character who might have otherwise been reduced to a mere informant. In the film's final scenes, as Valachi faces the consequences of his choices, Bronson conveys a quiet tragedy, a man who lived by a code only to be destroyed by it. A film overshadowed by circumstance, not quality. Why then did The Valachi Papers fade into obscurity, while The Godfather was canonized as a cinematic masterpiece? Timing, more than anything, is to blame. Released in the same year, 1972, The Valachi Papers was destined to exist in Coppola's shadow. Had it premiered even a year earlier, it might have been hailed as a groundbreaking mob film in its own right. Moreover, where The Godfather was a stylized epic filled with operatic weight, The Valachi Papers is almost anti-glamorous. It offers no Marlon Brando murmurs or iconic oranges, just cold betrayals, brutal executions, and a sobering look at the cost of silence and complicity. That realism, while powerful, may have made it harder for audiences to embrace it as entertainment. A legacy worth rediscovering. Today, over 50 years later, The Valachi Papers remains one of the most underrated gangster films of its era. It doesn't romanticize the mafia, it demystifies it. It doesn't build a myth, it breaks one down. It doesn't offer a neatly packaged story of family and honor, it reveals the inner rot behind those very illusions. If The Godfather is the beautifully framed portrait of organized crime, The Valachi Papers is the X-ray. Both have value. Both matter. And if you're a fan of the gangster genre or curious about the real stories that inspired it, then The Valachi Papers is a film well worth revisiting.